Welcome to another episode of the Cash Café podcast, powered by Butterfield. Here, we talk all things money, how to make it, how to spend it, but most importantly, how to keep it. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. To let YouTube know that you like this content, make sure you hit that like button and hype up this video. To make sure you never miss a new episode, hit that bell notification button. Now that you've gotten settled in your seat, let's get into today's convo. So, welcome, Jamal. Thank you so much for joining me to the Cash Cafe.
Yes, thank you for having me.
You are most welcome. You are most welcome. Now, I want us to go back to your very first event. First of all, time of the year.
Okay.
And then, what made you believe that you could pull off putting on an event here in Bermuda?
Okay. In all fairness, first time really getting into it was actually as a group, right? I'm a member of the Bermuda alumni chapter of Kappa Alpha Psi, and we have put on some previously in the past some Valentine events, right, featuring some pretty big R&B artists, such as the likes of Babyface, Brian McKnight, Joe, Mint Condition, just to name a few, and we always had them around around that Valentine's weekend, right? And being a part of the committee that helped to organize it, I got to see firsthand what it took to put on an event, right? And I am and kudos to my mentor, Tony Hunter. You know, he gave me the vision and the belief that I could actually do this here by myself. So that's how that kind of started, and that was about a good whoosh 15 plus, almost 20 years ago,
Wow,
right? That
okay.
we, because we did it for a number of years. But obviously with the closing down of the Fairmont Southampton Hotel, the indoor space is not really available like that anywhere else to make it worth the while. But my first solo adventure was actually about 9 years ago. It would have been 10 years ago had COVID not taken a year from us.
Right.
Right. And it just happened to feature my favorite song system, Still in Love.
Okay.
All right. So and ironically, it was I got married overseas, so we had a reception, a local reception, when we came back like a couple months later. And we had it under the big tent up at the stadium. And so I said to my wife, I said, you know what? Because we're both, we both love our music, and she's a big Still Love fan too. I said, hey, we should have an after party. I should bring in Still Love. And I said, we got renting this tent here. I said, we might as well, put it to use, right? So that's how that went. And so say it's so done. And it went off pretty good. So from there, I was like, yeah, okay, I could do this here. All right. So here I am, pretty much 10 years later, still doing it.
That is a big story because, first of all, most people think events are like one and done, and then you could have a great success and then stop. But it sounds like you had to progress, not just from working with a group to
Right.
working with yourself or working by yourself, excuse me, and then you decided to have an after party for your wedding, which is cool. I love that.
Yes.
I want to talk about mentorship. So, how important was it for you to get that kind of, I guess, foundation through someone else? And then what was it like to have someone speak into you and say, yeah, you can do this by yourself?
Right. And again, the benefit of having like a group committee type work. So you have at least about 5 or 6 persons that are got their ideas, and so you're brainstorming and you're number crunching, and you're weighing up all the options, you're dotting your I's, you're crossing your T's. So for me, I was able to garner a lot of knowledge and experience from my fellow brothers, some whom have done this type of form of entertainment before. But it was just that group networking experience that helped me. And I must add too, what really did it as well was during that time frame, I also was working for the Bermuda Department of Tourism, and that's when we used to have the music festivals,
Mhm.
right? So I was very grossly involved in the music festival as well. So that also gave me that comes because I had the inside track, and I was able to see up front and close how the professionals did it,
Right.
you know,
Right.
and take, steal ideas from them.
I love that. And so at what point did you realize that, putting on events was not
Mhm.
just about having a good time,
Right.
like the people that you're quote unquote bringing in? When did you realize it was more about managing the numbers and making
Right.
sure everything makes sense from a business perspective?
Right. But actually from the very beginning.
Mm.
From the very beginning, because as the saying goes, if if it doesn't make dollars, it don't make sense.
Right.
And so from the very beginning, you first and foremost, obviously you're creating your budget, right? Um, and so you're identifying the pros and cons, um, looking at, okay, what can go right and how would that work out? And if it does go wrong, what would that probably look like, Um, so it was from the beginning.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And that's great because I feel like some
Mhm.
people, when they get into it now, they think, okay, I just need to book some DJs, get a venue, and then it's going to be great. It's going to be very successful. What can you tell us about Bermuda's climate and
Mm,
our audience and what times of the year work well, what times of the year don't work well? And how did you learn that? Like, was it all just trial and error, or was it from your experience in tourism that helped you realize that there are certain times of the year when it's
Yeah.
really good to do these type of events?
Yeah, another very good question because it was a bit of both. Again, the Valentine one was at a time where persons were looking and wanting to do something as a couple,
Mm.
right? And particularly with the type of artists that we were bringing in, that resonated, whether you're a couple or not. People, wanted to see them. And then, yes, timing is everything. Timing, location, right? And I would say, around near to like holiday events or significant times on the calendar.
Mhm.
I mentioned, Valentine's. And then also too, if it depends on where you're looking to do it, indoors or outdoors. Because obviously if it's outdoors, then you're looking at the warmer weather months, summertime, from like May to possibly like end of October.
Mhm.
Um, and that's very nerve wracking because yeah, the mercy of Mother Nature, you know. So I know that from my experience, I'm literally glued to the weather channel, for a couple of weeks out, and saying, okay, well, how's this gonna go, you
Right.
know? But again, it's about identifying a budget, having a set budget, all right. Um, knowing your target market, right? And whether you're going for like the say like that 40 plus crowd, that i.e. that mature older crowd, if it's
Mhm.
old school type of situation, or if you're actually looking to incorporate old and young, because you have to have that balance. It's key to have that balance as well, right? Or if you're just kind of targeting that, I don't know, say 35 and below age group,
Mhm.
and that was dictated by whomever the artist is or artist that one is looking to bring,
Mhm.
you know. Um, and it really is no foolproof method. It could be hit or miss.
Right.
And doing business in Bermuda is very tricky, and it's also very expensive, right? So the key, and that's the number one question I have with when I'm looking to book overseas international talent. First of all, is like the conversation. Okay, particularly if I'm dealing with the manager, right? Like, okay, have you ever been to Bermuda before?
Mhm.
What do you know about Bermuda, right? Because ironically, a lot of people still don't know where Bermuda is,
Right.
right? They think we have direct flights from the Caribbean, like no, right? So once I'm educating them, like say, listen, it's a numbers game, and we have very low numbers, right? But yeah, we would love to bring them big artists here, but realistically, unless it's like a conglomerate, a group of promoters per se,
Mhm.
and that even don't even guarantee that you're going to make a profit, but it actually helps with putting on the event, right? But given the low numbers, it's very difficult, to try to get those real big name artists. And you really, really have to have some solid sponsorship and backing behind you. Unless you're just fortunate enough where you have a lot of money,
Right.
and as the as they say in gambling, you only put down what you can afford to lose.
Right.
So and so again, in Bermuda, it's very interesting, and it could be very, very stressful at times, because we're not like, i.e., we're in the mainland, say, i.e., U.S., Canada, right, where it's easy to get around, or down in the Caribbean, in the islands, where they're closer proximity. Yeah. Um, and I find that, given Bermuda's past success in I'm gonna say success in previous events over several years, um, I think a lot of people just think Bermudans got a lot of money and rich and can afford whatever price to put out there. So
Right.
it comes down to really negotiating. I'm just speaking for myself, and letting them know, listen, that is not going to fly here in Bermuda, because what will end up happening is everybody else will get paid, and the Bermudas laugh at either a little bit of money or no money at all.
Right.
So nobody goes into business to lose money.
Right.
So, but at the end of the day, too, nothing in life is guaranteed either. We take a risk, for whatever we happen to do. So it's even more important to double dot the I's and double cross the T's.
And that's for advice. So when it comes to like these conversations that you're having with either managers or directly with artists around the cost of their fee per se, how do you set up your budget? Like, how do you go through the different expenses that you might have, and how do you tell yourself, okay, this is the most I can spend in one area,
Right.
and then how do you have those conversations to get people either to sponsor you or to invest in the event?
Okay, so the first part, basically, I'm looking at, i.e., how many persons are in the party, right? That particular artist, and basically, I've stayed with the sound system, i.e., with tracks. Bands is a whole different category, right, altogether. But so with a track date, I'm identifying, okay, well, how many persons are coming with the artist,
Okay.
right? Support crew, etc. Because obviously cost is attached to that. So then you're looking at how many hotel rooms you're gonna need. And then with that comes per diem, and outside of the actual cost for the artist, right? Transportation, right? And so I'm looking at all of that and identifying, okay, well, I already have a set budget that I know that I can work with, right? So now I'm saying, okay, does that fit within that budget? And also, too, I'm looking at the probability of my return on my investment. Can I potentially make a profit off of this here? All right. So that's being looked into to determine, okay, if it's going to be worth the while going forward with it. Sometimes you just get that particular artist where, like, okay, I know this gonna be it, because you really don't know if it's gonna be or not. But because you do your homework, and I must say kudos to Ari, because you know I I don't get to tune in all the time, but when I do, I kind of get a pulse for some of the DJs are doing trivials and stuff like that, and they're seeing what people think. Particularly Ibreeze, he has this nice one on a Friday where he's like, okay, this your headliner, and then you got two others who's gonna be so he gives three artists, and it's like, okay, who's gonna be your headliner, who's gonna be the part you're gonna pick two. Who's gonna be a headliner, who's gonna be the next person, who goes right. So I find it quite interesting to see what people, the callers calling in and are saying. So that. Now, forgot the second part of the question.
No problem. So it's just speaking to like, how do you determine? I think you kind of answered it, to be honest, around like determining what artists to bring in and like how can it fit into your budget. And then, you know, I guess another question to follow, because you mentioned Ivory's Lunchbox Friday quiz that he does. Do you do that when it comes to, let's say you have an artist that you really want to bring in, but let's say you start the conversation and they're available and then the numbers don't make sense, or you can't get the numbers to make sense. Do you ever have someone as a backup that you might think, okay, if the first artist doesn't come through, this might be the artist that I go to? And then how does that work? Because if you go to one artist and you ask their date and then it falls through, how quickly can you get the second artist?
Well, I was interested. That's a very good question. I like that question. And my mind's always tripping over a lot. So I actually kind of like spread it a little. I don't just focus on one artist per se. I right off the bat, I'm looking at, okay, who's available for that date, right? That I'm interested in, right? So I'm just putting the feel out there first of all, because obviously if they're not available, then you know, boom, that's put to the side, right? And then I categorize it. Okay, well, this is my first choice, second choice, third choice, right? And again, that's based off on what I do too. I actually do like mini polls, right? I'll say maybe like 30 to 40 people randomly. I'm putting it out there in the atmosphere, like a cross range of persons, to see what's their feedback like and I'll use I'm jumping ahead again, but I'll use the last event featuring Nige Boy. You know, it was between him and another artist that we were looking at. Ideally, we were looking to bring both, but with the limitation on the venues and knowing what the capacity was and what potentially could be a return on the investment, we had to make a decision to go with one. Right. And there were several factors involved in that. But again, Nige ended up pulling the highest out of the two. Right. And definitely helped that, you know, his price point was also less as well. So then that was an easy decision. You know, so it's everybody does that thing differently. But for me, I am I like things in three, so I'll probably like think of like three artists, and again look at the availability, look at what their cost is, look at how many people they're seeing has to come in their party, and everything's negotiable, right? And then we ended up and seeing, well, okay, and then also doing a poll, right, to get a pulse. Because what I like may not resonate with you know, the general public, and I'm like, nah, you know, and then going from there.
I love that. And so actually, I do want to sit on Nige Boy a minute for the My Valentine event, because I went to the event because I worked it, but I also got to enjoy it kind of as a patron as well. So can you speak to how you discuss how you finally came down to him being your option, but can you speak to what it's like on the day of an event or even leading up to the event, like how you're feeling, emotions when it comes to ticket sales? Because I know comedians like to wait to the very last minute. If the weather changes, their minds changed as well. So talk to us about that feeling as a promoter when you've done all of this work and investment, and then on the day, what's going through your mind?
That is probably the most crucial aspect of it all. It's very stressful, right? Now, the only time it would not be stressful, and be honest with you, I have never experienced this per se, is if you're sold out all your tickets in advance. No, the only thing I've ever gotten close to was I sold out like a VIP section. Right? But to sell out an event based on capacity, I've never had that privilege. I can't, but so you hit the nail on the head. Bermudians do love to wait till the last minute. And then one breath, I can't blame them, because I'm guilty of it. I would do it too. I'm like, I'm waiting to see what the weather's like, you know? And depending on where if it's an outdoor event, you know, I'm kind of waiting to see, and depending on what time of the year too, and who the artist is, because some artists will be like, oh, I don't really care what the weather's like, you know. Yeah, I'm going to see him. And with Nige, that was similar case there, because those that wanted to come see him came out, right? But I feel that those that were on the fence, the weather did switch up a little bit. It was a little rain, as we know, in the last 2 to 3 weeks has been icy cold in Bermuda. But that was probably one of the warmer. That was the warmer weekend, but it still was a little cool, and the show was on and off.
Mm-hmm.
So those that, like I said, that were probably like on the fence, and then to probably say, all right, go out for dinner, and then be like, okay, then come out and like, you know what, nah, belly full, you know, eyelids getting droopy, yeah, we're getting in,
Yeah.
right? And or, you know, getting up around 10, 11 o'clock and saying, yeah, and then be like, you know what, nah. So it can be very stressful.
Mm.
Yes, it can be very stressful. And I find that you will probably sell half your pre-sell, maybe half your quarter probably, and then the other half is at the door.
Mm-hmm.
And that is where you're pacing and they're like saying, okay, you know what your minimum a month is to break even, and you're just like saying, please, hey, get me there, you know. And it helps. It helps if you've got a venue where you can take, you have the bar,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because that's obviously an additional profit for you, and then even food too, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it gets very stressful.
I can imagine. And I actually want to talk about indoor events versus outdoor events. So, like, if you have, let's say, an outdoor event that you've planned for, do you always have a rain venue, or do you have a rain weekend where you say, if I can't have it on my first choice day and in my first choice location,
Right.
do you have that in your back pocket? And if you do, what is that like for you? Like, how do you manage that?
Right. So you have a couple of venues, and particularly like the city of Hamilton, right? See, if you're looking at Barsley Park or Queen Elizabeth Park, right? Um, you do have the luxury of being able to book the Pier 6 as a rain venue, right? But it's not an automatic. You have to actually book it, and which requires a deposit.
An additional deposit, okay.
Right? So you know, you always, you hope for the best and prepare for the worst. So with that being said, you know, when you're booking certain venues, you are looking to see about, okay, is there a rain backup venue, right? Um and then, i.e., say take somewhere like a Cedar Bridge, you know, the North Courtyard, you can transition into, say, like the cafeteria, right? But then, you know, it depends on it's a numbers thing too, because cafeteria can hold so many people. So depending on how many people you're anticipating or, you know, looking to get, that could make or break it, you know. But that option's there. So and then a lot of times that's where the mega tent up at the stadium comes in handy, where it's like, okay, well, even if it does rain, we'll cover it, you know, right? But you know, everything comes with a cost attached to it. So Bermuda having limited venues, you're limited,
Yeah.
you know, with your options. And then if it is a spot where it's remote, where it's outdoors, then yeah, I guess it's either you're scrambling last minute to find, and or you are, like you said, having a rain date, you know, especially if you knew about in advance, to say, okay, and if you're able to change that date.
Right.
Because right now, you know, events are coming fast and furious. Like, you know, the calendar's chock-a-block,
It's full.
you know, and yeah, that's a different conversation. But yeah, so that's how I, you know, go about it anyway.
And I like that because I feel like sometimes we talk about, people think about events, like I said, it's a one-off type of thing that I have to prepare for this one day, this one moment, not realizing there's so many other factors that go into it. Bless you. So many other factors that go into it. And what they fail to realize is it's not always just a one person situation. Like, speak to us about the team that you started with. Like, you know, you say your fraternity, but then also now that you quote unquote do it on your own, do you still have a team and people that you collaborate with so that it's not solely falling on you?
Yes. Yeah, I do. I have, well, I still have, like, you know, advisors, people that I would bounce things off of. And then I have my support cast, my team that have been with me for a number of years, like, you know, 6-7 years. And that support cast being my frontline people, my cashiers, you know, my ticket people, and and then also to in the background scene, persons that will help with you know, setting up, breaking down, although predominantly a lot of times that falls on whoever I'm hiring to do a certain aspect,
Mm-hmm.
you know. Um, but again, all of that comes, with a cost attached
Yeah.
to it, you know. So yeah, I would say I have a really good team. That we're pretty much all dialed in. They're dialed in to me,
Yeah.
and to the point where like they know, hey, all right, Jamal is probably gonna forget this here or his got on his list, and let me just make sure,
Just done it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So
And how important is that for you? Because you mentioned, like, you sometimes you have a lot going on in your mind. So, things need to be done and they have to be done either by yourself or by someone else. So, how important is it for you to have those people in your corner to make sure that you stay on top of things? Because, like we said, it could be a moment where just because the weather changes, your event could go from being a great success to being completely a flop, not because of anything you did or didn't do. So, like, speak to how important it is for you to have those people in your corner.
It's vital. It's vital. It's vital because no one person is an island.
Mm-hmm.
You have to have a good sound support crew,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that could even include, it's all about relationship building too. So I've developed relationships with certain sponsors and vendors, right? Over the course of the years, and we're, you know, again, what Dowdy and they've grown with me. They've seen me grow, and they know what I like, or even advising. Okay, look, hey, last time, this didn't kind of go the way, you thought it or you wanted to go. Let's pivot and go this way here, etc. Or let's not do that at all,
Right.
type of thing. So it's vital. You have to have a really good support cast.
Mm-hmm.
That's crucial.
I could believe that. I heard that. And I mean, even for doing this podcast, like at first I started doing it by myself and then we had to get some more people into it because it's a lot of work that goes into it.
Right.
Let's be real. Money can be confusing. And many of us were never really taught how to manage it properly. That's why I like tools such as Nudge, which is free thanks to Butterfield. Nudge is a financial awareness tool that helps you understand your money in a simple, no pressure way. It works a bit like a personal money coach, sending you timely, personalized nudges about things that matter to you and your finances. You also get a personalized feed with easy to digest money tips, real world stories, and tools that help you stay on track. Whether you're looking to save, pay down debt, or just make better money decisions day to day. Because when your money feels more manageable, life is just a little easier. So I want to talk about your successes and your failures. So let's start with your failures first. Okay. We always start with success and then everyone gets like, oh yeah, I could definitely do that. But let's start with the one event that you feel like was not your best, and you can decide how you want to define what the best is, whether it's based on the amount of people that came, you made money.
Yeah.
And then what lessons did you learn from that particular event?
Yeah. Okay. Well, the one that stands out to me was 2 years ago. I want to say it was 2 years ago, and that was the Sister Nancy, Lady G, Little John Metromedia. Originally it was set for under the Big Ten, right? And then we identified early that okay, ticket sales were not going the way we wanted it to. So we were like, okay, we're gonna need to downsize because it's costly under the Big Ten. So then I've always been a big fan of the Queen Elizabeth Park, Parlerville Park, right? I just love that outside vibe there, right? And the ambience of it. So we pivoted and went that route. Um, having spent weeks planning, mapping it out, right? Meeting the people that needed to do what they had to do. The weather was not looking great for that weekend, right? So I bit the bullet and I went to go. I did it inside, actually upstairs, Pier 6,
Okay.
right? And now I had a VIP segment to it, and general. So what? Indoors would not have provided enough room for the VIPs. So unfortunately, with Pier 6, you have two segments too. You could book the indoor hall or you could book the outdoor hall, or you could book both. But they both come with separate prices. So, based on my numbers, I went with both, right? And and I basically went overboard. I got some tenting put up um for the VIPs, etc. And I lost on that. I didn't get the numbers I needed, right? And yeah, and I'm losing I a lot also with the fact that I went with the outdoor patio and the tenting, right? That was overkill. Now that we look back on it based off the numbers, right? So that is one that definitely sticks out. You know, I've been blessed in that um it may be one other event where I took a L, took a loss. Um, it wasn't a major significant one, but that particular Catch a Fire one featuring Sister Nancy Lady G, unfortunately did not bring in the numbers that I needed. And again, like I said, it was in part to me adding additional costs that wasn't originally in the budget.
Okay.
Right. So yeah, that came back to bite me.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about a success. So you learned some lessons from that one. You realized that, you maybe added costs that not only weren't in the budget, but you probably didn't need based on how that all went on. So what have been some successes that you've done, and what from the successful events do you replicate to try to make sure that you can, to as much as you can, guarantee some good numbers?
Yeah. Um, I like a partner. I like having a partner.
Right.
Before it was me. It was One Love Promotion. It was me.
Right.
But the last few events, 4 or 5 actually, for that matter, I've had a partner. So basically, literally a 50-50 split, so straight down the middle, and I love it because now when I'm looking at numbers, I'm not looking at the whole number.
Right.
I'm looking at half that number,
Right.
and it definitely is easy on the palate and on the mind, etc., and the stress level, right? But also too, you know, and being involved with the right partner too. You are sharing everything and workload, ideas, all of that. So that's what I enjoy most, and what has brought about and assisted with the some of the more successful events I have done. You know, um, so I kudos to having a partner.
Yeah. So now I know you are celebrating a milestone year this year for One Love Promotion. So
Yes.
talk to me about that. And then also share, you had the Naji Boy event, you have other events coming up this year. Let me know how those events tie into your celebration of this milestone year.
Yes. And this is my 10th year,
Mhm.
but my wife actually reminded me, she's like, yeah, it's a 10th year, but you missed a year.
Right.
But 10 is my favorite number, and so technically, in all fairness, next year it will be my 10th event,
Okay.
right? But this is my 10th year.
Got you.
So maybe I could do it twice.
I mean, who's stopping you?
Yeah. So and in that, that's another thing too. I was looking at it and said, okay, well, I'm in my 10th year. Yeah, I'll go. Normally I just have one event. I just focus on Catch a Fire. That's my signature event, one and done for the year. Right. But again, because Valentine's fell on a Saturday, and looking at it from, and I'm always doing my planning like a year in advance almost, right? Val out, minimum of 9 months. And I was like, okay, because originally the plan was to do it at the shed and dockyard, and I was wanting to do a band event, right? But the shed is not an option from a rental aspect, and won't be for a little while, right? So then that's been me downgraded. But anyway, so where I'm at now, preparing for Catch a Fire, and again, that's been in the makings for quite some time now. Identified the main talent, and then with this year here, um, Catch a Fire has always looked at giving identifying veteran songs, because we pride ourselves in being the biggest old school event, right? So priding ourselves on recognizing veterans that have helped pave the way for others to come behind. And so it just so happens that what was it? This was 4 years ago. Sternloff turned 50. So, and it coincidentally was right after we were coming out of the COVID lockdown and everything, and people were itching to get out. So that was by far probably like my biggest event. That and probably yeah, and busy signal. But anyway, so this year we're looking at we're identified 'cause I'm a song guy. I love my sound systems. So Metromedia turned 50 in November of last year, right? And Saxon Sound System out of the UK turning 50 this year, all right? So I was like, okay, that's a milestone, 50. That'll be Chris to be able to give them their flowers while they're still here versus talking about them, in death.
Right.
And so that's what we pride ourselves on, giving people their flowers while they're still here, right? And recognizing them for the good that they have done. So this year's recipients are Metromedia and Saxon. We do have a few other additions that we're going to add to it, like in terms of one or two live artists, right? Um, that we're very close to formalizing. So we're excited about it from that aspect there. But the emphasis is going to be on recognizing the two sounds and putting them like out front and center. So yeah, a lot of time people, okay, yeah, what artists are bringing, but yeah, we'll look to bring a quality artist of that era, right? But the emphasis is not going to be solely on the artist. It's we're focusing on the sound systems,
Right.
And like I said, it's about giving them their flowers.
Right.
You know.
So when it comes to creating those type of events, because that is for, I wouldn't say it's for a specific age group, but a specific age group will appreciate it probably a bit more than another age group. And that's not to say people from the other age group won't appreciate it, but we just know that because that's an era that those people came up in, to them it's like nostalgic. It's like being in their quote unquote teens or 20s. So talk to me about how important it is for the patrons that come to the Catch a Fire event and having that experience on island, because I feel like sometimes we hear about these type of experiences overseas and people travel to see that. But how important is it for you to create that experience locally for people of that generation?
Yeah, but it's very important. And I'm a person that has traveled to and travels to a lot of overseas events, right? And a lot of times I get jealous because I'm like, man, they got all these different artists, all these different acts, like, but I know that it's not impossible to do in Bermuda, but it would be extremely, extremely, extremely expensive, right? But wanting to still replicate and do something on a smaller scale, and again, is that about that nostalgic moment too, and also too trying to have that balance, right? But it's very important to be able to have persons remember their younger days per se, because the 90s era was just hands down like the best, right? If you lived it, you knew it.
Yeah.
Right. And for me, coming through the 80s, which was for like that foundation. 70s, 80s was more like that foundation, and then the 90s it just went to a whole new level. It broke through mainstream, America per se. And yeah, just catapulted in, particularly and talking about like dancehall as well, because the reggae was already out there. But yeah, just being able to take a trip down memory lane.
Yeah.
And but in a quality fashion style.
It feels very authentic because I'm not of that age group.
Right.
So I didn't experience it, but I've seen like, videos and things of it. So I do feel that it's very authentic to that era. And I feel like those that come, they never say like, oh, this is like washed on or this isn't exactly what we used to have. I definitely feel like a lot of people from that era, when they come to Catch a Fire specifically and probably your other events, feel that this is authentic to whatever the moment is. So I definitely want to give you your flowers for that. I'm
Thank
from
you.
a different generation.
Yes.
But I can see that it's really that type of passion and that attention to detail and making sure the patron and has a great experience.
Yeah, and that's most important because I would say no. Catch a Fire is at a stage where it's a brand and it's at a stage where people knew that hey, Catch a Fire is about the quality first, right? Um, create the quality and you'll get the quantity in terms of numbers, right? That's been our mantra, and so now that we're going into our 10th year, right? We got a nice little recipe put together, right? So you eventually once you get to a certain level, now the difficult part is maintaining it. Yeah, it's all right getting up there, but once you get up there, now you got to stay there.
Right.
So that's where it's at, and make me reach that happy medium. You know.
And so, as like one of my last questions, you mentioned, basically the sustainability of your brand because over 10 years now, you've been able to create a signature with Catch a Fire. And so, looking ahead, what are some of the things that you're trying to do from a strategy perspective to make sure that not only Catch a Fire, but any other event that you do, whether it's solo with someone else, has a certain level of quality? And what steps do you take? I know you mentioned you start early, like 9 months to a year. But what are some other things that you do to make sure you can at least hit your version of a quality event?
Right. Well, again, relationships. I make sure that I got solid partners on board in terms of like sponsors as well. That is really key. Because that could make or break the event as well. Like I said, I'm not a person that's sitting on a whole lot of money where I can just do it out of pocket. So I required and I fall back on the sponsors to help maintain that level of quality.
Right.
All right. So that's the key right there for me, and just maintain the quality. Yeah.
So, for someone who's listening that's never heard of One Love Promotions, never heard of Jamal Hart, how do they connect with you on social media or online and like learn information? And then, when they're ready to come to the next Catch a Fire, what date should they be looking out for, and how should they stay connected with you?
Right. Okay. So I'm on Instagram, as well as Facebook, but on Instagram on the One Love Promotions, right? And I tend to put a lot of information out there on social media for persons to be able to follow along, and got a nice little WhatsApp following, right? So the next event is May the 30th. Next Catch a Fire event is May the 30th. And it'll be taking place up at the North Courtyard at Cedar Bridge Academy. And tickets will be going on sale March the 1st. So stay tuned for that at ptix.bm. All right. And again, this year here, we want to help as best as we can make it very affordable for persons because people are struggling out there right now. People are really struggling, but they still want to have a good time. But they're being up like, okay, well, do I pay for this? Or do I bite the bullet and go and have a little good time? But then I ain't got the money to pay for that. So we're aggressively working closely with sponsors to be able to keep the price relatively reasonably priced. All right. Because we really want persons to come out in numbers, and have a good time. Because you're gonna have a good time because it's Catch a Fire.
Right.
All right. So, but we really do want persons to come out, and enjoy themselves because they owe it to themselves. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Jamal, for having this conversation with me. I actually learned a lot about promoting events here in Bermuda and just thinking of how you started with your fraternity and now you've been able to, go out on your own. It's a really inspiring story. And I think anyone that's listening that is currently an event promoter or wants to be an event promoter, what's like one piece of advice that if you were starting over again today to get into this event promotion game here in Bermuda, what's one piece of advice you would give yourself?
Boy, that's a good question. Just do your homework. Make sure that you've identified a date. Make sure that it's not nothing else being planned for that date. Right, I left that part out earlier. You know, you want to reach out to other promoters that you know that do events. Some are kind of like standard where they do it same time every year, right? Um, and no one actually earns a date per se, but then certain events that you ain't trying to go up against,
Right.
right? But yeah, just plan well in advance. And Dutch eyes and cross your T's, but definitely have reach out to other promoters and just check to see, what their plans are. So that because there's nothing worse than when you have events clashing, like because we're small in population, and so when you're competing for that same dollar, yeah, I guess sticky.
Yeah. And you
Mhm.
mentioned it, the fact that, Bermudians are constantly deciding whether they're going to pay a bill or they're going to enjoy themselves. And if there's two events happening on one day, that's even more of a conflict for them. So I do appreciate that because I do feel like that's the whole premise of Cash Cafe is talking about, like, how to spend your dollars, how to make it, how to spend it, but also how to keep it when you want to keep it. So I think that's a very important point too. It's like, just making sure that if you can avoid conflict, avoid it as far as a date. But if you can't, man, you roll the dice.
Yes. Yes.
All right, Jamal, well, that's it for this episode. I want to thank you once again for joining me here.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. It's been a privilege. And yeah. Catch a fire.
May
May 30th. Make a date, don't be late.
That part. Thank you for watching this episode of the Cash Cafe podcast powered by Butterfield. If you enjoyed today's conversation, remember to like and hype this video up to let YouTube know how much you enjoyed this content. To stay connected with today's guests, myself, Terry K, and Irie98 Bermuda, check out the description box below for all social media and website details. It's now time to get up from your seat at the Cash Cafe. Until the next conversation, peace.